He's felt a spiritual calling to share his words, his wisdom, his thoughts with others, trying to create an environment that encourages people to walk a path of personal growth and development. Drawing from his own experiences, Cliff's life story allows him to connect with others seeking greater potential within themselves. While working the trades, he garnered the nickname the philosophical plumber, always creating passionate conversations about finding your greatness, recognizing superpowers, and unique gifts. With respect for all spiritual and religious beliefs, he finds himself intrigued and inspired by others' personal relationship and connection with God, the cosmos, and mysticism, which keeps him in the constant state of learning, seeking, and sharing. And what you're going to feel is that Cliff's coming right from the heart. And that's what we're all about here. So help me welcome back Cliff Cherrier.
Thanks, Jay. Those who die before that they die never really die. Those who die before that they die never really die. We're going to set that aside for a bit. We're going to let it sit. We're going to let it simmer. We're going to come back to it. And instead, we're going to move on to some other thought-provoking conversations. Some other thought-provoking topics and questions. Questions like, if today was your last day on this planet, and you were down to, let's say, your last 22,000 breaths, because that's on average how many breaths that we take a day. If you were down to your last day, your last breaths, what would you do with the time that you have left? I know that this can feel a little heavy for a Sunday morning. But I decided that I was just going to chance it with you guys. And I was either going to sink, swim, or possibly even drown as together we sail into this mystic. So I'm going to ask again, if you were down to your last day, your last breath, what would you do? You know, and we can say it's a week from now, or a month, or we could even stretch it out 10 plus years if you like. For me, personally, that answer doesn't change much. But what it does do is that it generates another question. And that question is, I forgot, you guys. It is. That's right, I remember. And the other question is, why am I not living that way of life right now? You know, why do we wait? Why do we wait until we're facing imminent death? Or even facing a threat of imminent death before we tell ourselves, you know what, this is the way that we should have lived. Instead of convincing ourselves right now that this is the way that I should live. I don't know about you, but I want to discover. I want to explore. I want answers to questions. To questions like, are we human beings, or are we something else being human? And I want those answers to come to me, or me to them, for that matter. And they don't always have to come verbally, do they? Because they can come in an experiential way. Because there are some things in this life that we just have to experience to understand. You feel me? I've decided to title this talk In Search of Soul, which to me really means the same thing as in search of self, trying to figure out who we really are. Because see, deep questions will surface deep answers. But then it creates that other question is, do we have that ability to go that deep? I know that, again, personally, that when I go that deep, I get lost in that abyss. But there's something inside of me that just allows me to come up for air, and then I just go back down in for more. Do you have something inside of you that just makes you just buzz on the inside? Just, If not, that's okay. We just have to rephrase that sentence and change it to not yet. And then trust this process, because it will happen. I was thinking the other day that what if every atom, right? Every atom, ATOM. What if every atom that makes up everything, every cell, everyone, what if every atom was like a form of nanotechnology? And nanotechnology meaning that very precise manipulation of matter on an atomic and supramolecular level. So what if every atom was a form of nanotechnology that was created and masterminded by a cosmic being? And when I said that out loud to myself, I thought, that begins to sound like a lot of different religions without being religious, right? Because I can also make it sound scientific by changing cosmic being to a cosmic force. Because we know that factually, and even we could probably say scientifically, that there is some sort of energy, some sort of primordial force that is acting like an engine, acting like a furnace, a spark, which has impregnated this divine mother, which has given birth to the explosion of all of this. Because everything and anything is a result of the everything and anything. You know, all of these questions, both answered and unanswered, for me, they help me in this quest in search of soul. Trying to figure out who we really are. Because see, we're told our names, our sexes, our genders, our skin color, our country of origin, our history. And a lot of times we're even told who to love or who to hate, who's friend, who's foe, what's truth, what's not. We are told a lot of things that in turn make us a lot of things. And when we came into this world, we were a blank canvas that was painted to fit into this pre-existing world, painted to fit into this preconceived world. And where the irony in it, and the paradox is, your very existence within this world changes it uniquely forever. But what if? I always got a but. But what if you were to strip it all away? Strip away everything that you believe, everything that you know, strip it all away. And then ask yourself these questions. I've raised them before in my other talks, but ask yourself these questions. Who am I? Where am I? What am I? When I ask those questions, something inside of me raises another question and asks, who's asking? But it's in pondering these questions that I experience this deep silence. And it's within this silence that I can hear this faint whisper, kind of like a distant echo. You know, something that's communicated to me non-verbally, but I can feel it. I can hear it. and it's communicated to me the idea, the action, and the notion to die before I die. Because see, the impressions that the world has left on us, both consciously and unconsciously, have been imprinted upon us, creating layers upon layers upon layers of certain truths and particular falsehoods. But when we apply certain tools and particular practices like deep introspection, self-reflection, self-questioning, self-observation, what happens is this melting and this dissolving away of different identities. Identities that we have spent a lifetime identifying with. I describe this feeling as pieces of me dying before I die. And it's a feeling that is filled with impermanence, because the resurrection of particular identities remanifesting themselves or reanimating themselves within our lives is actually more probable than it is impossible. Because they say that the old habits, that they die hard. You know, there's that expression that say that, that they've gone off the deep end. And I'm going to ask you guys, do you think that if a person goes off the deep end, we'll say over the edge into the mystic, do you think they get to come back? It's a real worry of mine sometimes. It makes me wonder, is that what some of the spiritual teachers and the prophets and the shaman, the holy men and women, is that what they were trying to say in some of their literature, some of their scripture? Is that what they were trying to convey? That sometimes that in order to find ourselves, that we must first lose ourselves? Because, otherwise, what would be the point? What do we gain paddling upstream? March to the beat of our own drum. You get one life, and it takes me back to that original question, well, what are you going to do with the time that you have left? And I know that, some of the stuff that's thrown out today makes me sound like that maybe I'm off my rocker a bit. and maybe I am. And maybe it's the other way around too. And that there's some of you in here that have been on your rockers way too long. Rocking back and forth. Where are you going? I can tell you that it's a liberating feeling to say, what? So what? And admit to you, but more importantly, admit to myself that this is just the way that I am. And maybe I am in a different room. Maybe I am on some different stuff. But, like I asked, what else are we going to do with the time that we have left? I may not fit that status quo in normal. But normal is subjective. So then, what is normal? We're going to go into this mystic, you guys, and search a soul. This is my fifth or sixth talk here. And I'm sure that some of you guys can recognize that I have gotten a little better at it. I do feel a little bit more comfortable. But the truth is that this hasn't gotten any easier. Because in preparation for these talks, I really, really struggle. Because I never know what to say. I don't. I mean, you guys go out of your way and you got your listening ears on, and on top of that you gift me 50 minutes of your attention. And I don't want to waste it. And so I sit around really struggling. And then self-doubt begins to set in, and I begin to question even, why am I doing this? I don't necessarily have aspirations. I wasn't aspiring for a career change. I just literally woke up one day, true story, and I said, you know what, this is something I'm going to do. I reached out to Jay and said, hey, can I do this? But why? And your why is important, you guys. There's so many occasions in life where you have to find your why. And I just so happen to find my why in a memory. See, when I was a little boy, my family and I, we rented a house not far from here. And it was actually a duplex. And we lived on the upper half. And directly across the street from us was an apartment building. And actually my cousin and my aunt lived in that apartment building. But anyways, right in front of that apartment building door was a rock. Very similar in size and shape to this one. And one day, I happened to be looking outside that window, my upstairs window, and I looked down at this rock, and the rock moved like this. It was true story. And it caught my attention. It caught my eye. It caught my curiosity, and possibly even my imagination. Because even at that age, I wanted a reasonable explanation to why that rock just moved like that. I always considered myself logical, even back then. So I went downstairs across the street to investigate how this rock moved. And I was over there just Nancy Drewing it. I was picking up blades of grass, and it wasn't the wind. Was it previously balancing on something? No. I even wondered if it was the vibration of like a dump truck or something, that came by, and I couldn't find an answer that satisfied me. I just couldn't. And then I had this ancient feeling voice raise this question in me, and it said, hey, did you move that rock? Did you move that rock with your mind? What? That's nonsense. What? Who said that? Even at that age, I knew that sounded like nonsense. I considered myself a logical person. It was nonsense to move a rock with your mind. But then I had this other voice. I said, well, what if? So, shamefully, I have to admit this to you guys. But so I said, there's only one way to find out. So I ran upstairs, and I ran to the window, and I sat there like this, you guys, for hours. I did. You remember that TV show Bewitched? I was trying to wiggle my nose, but my whole face would move. I tried everything, and I was there day after day, week after week, month after month, to no avail. And it turned into every once in a while, to occasionally, just to sometimes, I would walk by that window, and that rock would catch my eye, and I would just stare and wonder. I've only shared that story with my wife, and it brings me back to why. Why am I here? Why am I fighting the fear to be up here on this stage in front of some family, some friends, in a room full of strangers, sharing my innermost thoughts? That's right. Because all of these years later, I'm still trying to move that rock. But I'm just trying to move you a little bit, with the hopes that maybe that you can see what I see. Because this time when I stare, all I see is wonder. You feel me? We're going into this mystic in search of soul. I don't want to die. I don't want to die any more than I just want to be alive. But what I do yearn to is to live. And then to become completely aware that I exist and that you exist and that we exist right now. And that all of this is temporary. Because it adds beauty in the idea that none of this is forever. And that there's power in the realization that all that we have is right now. If you guys would do me a favor and just take a look around the room, look left, look right, take a look at the people that are sharing this space with us. You know, give them a smile, give them some eyes. There could be people in this room right now that we will never, ever, ever see again. This could be the very last time that your orbits ever intersect. This could be the last time that your orbits ever get this close. And that's just not local to here. That's the all-encompassing here. So we're here today, we're gone tomorrow. If there's one thing that I want you guys to take out of this talk today, it'd be this. It's friend to friend. It would be add as much meaning to your moments as you can while you can. Add as much meaning to your moments as you can and while you can. That's what I'm trying to do, I guess, with the time I have left. I feel that we all experience a great divide inside. And we too become like Michelangelos and our very own Rembrandt, and we continue painting layers of the world on ourselves. And it's only when we take a good long look in the mirror in that reflection, or we step outside of ourselves, that we can truly appreciate this masterpiece that's been created. And then before that we frame it up, we got to title it, and we say, I shall call it ego. And looking at yourself or looking at your ego can be a pretty traumatic event. It can be pretty stomach turning. I mean, I hate looking at myself, looking at my ego. Because there are pieces of that I hate, the mistakes I made, the person that I was, the people that are hurt, the lies that I listened to. I hate it. But I know there's something inside of me that tells me that if I really, really, really want to live, then there are pieces of that ego, pieces of me that have to die before I die. Melt and dissolve. Transforming from what was once many to finally and for once experiencing that feeling of becoming one. Into the mystic in search of soul. And I know that when we say search, that search implies that something is lost or something is missing. But let me explain my thoughts. See, I believe that we are timeless, that we are eternal, that we are part of that cosmic being, part of that cosmic force. We are that everything and anything. And that for the difficulty to try to describe or try to summarize what we really are, we simply are soul. And then in order for us to experience this world, to experience this life, to experience what it's like being human, that we get lost on purpose. You know, today I am a human being, painted as an explorer, paddling upstream in search of an elusive soul that turns out to be as difficult as trying to capture as our own shadow. All while dying before that I die. And finding answers to questions like, well, where were we before? And where do we go after? Those answers aren't as important as realizing that they don't really matter. And what really matters is that you are here right now. And then the better question is, well, what are you going to do with the time that you have left? You guys still with me? Okay, I know I get out there a little bit. You want me to keep going? You guys ever put any weight into the thought that the reason that any of us are here, the fact that this is even happening, and, is even possible? I mean, to me, it's truly it's nothing short of a miracle. It is. And it does set the stage for, is there an intelligence behind this design? Or is it really just nature? Is it just mathematical probability, binary ones and zeros? Random chance? Because if it is random chance, well then that opens up a whole new dimension within Pandora's box. It opens up a whole new dimension of questions. Questions like, are we the first of our kind? Wouldn't that be something? Or even different, I mean, could we be possibly the last of our kind? Damn, that would be something. But if it is just mathematical probability, then we could just literally just be one of many. But if we never, ever get to even meet and see or discover the other many, then we're stuck somewhere between first and last. And to me, that really is something. Because for now, it's just us, right? Surfing space and time on a rock with a liquid magma core, where on the surface it is home to close to 9 million different species of life. And that rock, that Earth, our planet, is in this Goldilocks zone. It's in that perfect distance from the sun. If it was any closer, it'd be too hot. If it was any further away, we'd be too cold. Where it is, it's just right. And even though that it takes 24 hours for us to rotate that sun, we're doing that spinning on our axis at 11,000 miles an hour. And as we take our orbit around the sun, we're doing that at 67,000 miles an hour. And then the sun, along with Earth and the rest of our planetary family, the entire solar system is actually being whipped around a spiral galaxy at a whopping 490,000 miles an hour. Right now, as you sit here in your seats, You are quite literally crossing the universe. And you don't even feel it. Well, see, more mind-bending is that we don't even realize it. And it makes me wonder, where are we going? Where are we going? Into the mystic. In search of soul. This is what 1.3 billion years looks like. 1.3 billion. Because that's on average how old an everyday, ordinary rock is. 1.3 billion. Because see, our Earth is only 4.5 billion years old. And after a few billion years of being really hot and then cooling off, this rock was formed. And 1.3 billion years later, it's a doorstop. About 10 years ago or so, I came across somebody that claimed they could talk to rocks. It's a real thing to some people. And I can't do it, but I can't sing or dance either, so I'm not going to judge anybody. But I do think it'd be interesting if rocks could talk, because I think they could tell a story. A couple of weeks ago, a family member and I, we were talking about stories, and we got on the topic of how across history and across cultures that there are certain archetypal patterns within stories. And it could be a result of a collective consciousness of some sort. But these archetypal patterns generally have like a hero element in it, or an element of tragedy. And it reminded me that we all have our stories, don't we? You have yours, I have mine. And the famous Swiss psychiatrist, Carl Jung, I'm going to read a quote from him. He said that everybody acts out a myth, but very few people know what their myth is. And you should. You should know your myth, because it might be a tragedy, and you may not want it to be. I love that quote. Could waking up to that truth, becoming aware of your myth, could that be considered dying before you die? I don't know, maybe so. What's your story? Are you the hero in it? Are you the stuff that makes up myths and legends? If not, it's okay. Because again, we just have to rephrase that sentence to not yet. And then trust the process, because it will happen. I've pondered the thought that what if all of our stories together collectively, what if they make up the book of life? Does that mean that our stories are just pages and chapters within it? Or is it like the Bible, where it's books within books? That was just a shower thought. I don't know. Something I've thought about. But since we're on the subject of stories, I want you guys to imagine with me and pretend for a moment, let's pretend that crystal balls are real. And that Karnak the Magnificent, he's going to read your fortune. He's going to tell you your future. Would you want to know how your story ends? I don't think I would either. I think that a person could probably experience a sense of fearlessness from being privy to that information. But that's also under the assumption that death is the end. And see, I don't believe that. I believe that our stories are never ending. I think that a person could probably experience a sense of fearlessness from that too. You know, I'm just a storyteller here, just sharing with you guys. And today, what I shared with you guys was a myth about being in that search for soul. Because the true story is, all we have to do is just search our soul. And the real element of tragedy is if we never convince ourselves to be the hero that our story deserves. And I think that process begins by adding as much meaning to our moments as possible. Today is kind of a special talk for me personally. And so I want to dedicate it to our dad Matt and our grandpa Matt and our friend Sharon, who is a member of this community, both whose souls sail free somewhere in the mystic. If you guys would humble me, and let's send them one vibrational Om on 3. 1, 2, Om. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. My name is Cliff Cherrier, and thank you for being my rock. Peace, love, light.
If anybody doesn't believe that rocks talk to people, come to the psychic fair and check out some crystals, because you'll get some information, trust me. Let's see. Now we'll have our gratitude offering. Just as a reminder, Lake Harris Spiritual Community isn't connected to any mothership. We are an island upon ourselves, and there's just no place like us. And we survive purely just on your donations. So I just appreciate your generosity in helping this one ship of oneness keep moving forward, because I think we're on the leading edge of something really powerful here. So I just appreciate your generosity in helping support this amazing journey.
We were born before the wind, also younger than the sun. Yeah, the bonnie boat was one as we sail into the mystic. I can now hear the sailors cry, smell the sea and feel the sky. Let your soul and spirit fly into the mystic. And where that foghorn blows, I will be coming home. Yeah, when the foghorn blows, I wanna hear it. I don't have to fear it, and I wanna rock your gypsy soul, just like way back in the days of old. And magnificently we will fold into the mystic. you know I will be coming home. Yeah, when that foghorn whistle blows, I gotta hear it. I don't have to fear it, and I wanna rock your gypsy soul, just like way back in the days of old. And together we will float into the mystic. Come on, girl. Too late to stop it
And now, if you could help me in blessing the offering, I just invite you to raise your hands and repeat after me. Perfect love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Thank you. And now, as our tradition of oneness, we're going to gather around the perimeter of the sanctuary and hold hands, and Cliff will lead us in a closing message.
Closing message, I guess I would say that, like they said, remember this oneness. When our world feels crazy and it feels divided and it feels separateness, remember the oneness within you. Like talk when I said that all I see is wonder, I want you guys to see that wonder. I want everyone to feel that greatness inside of them, consistently. May not be always reminded of it. You have it inside of you. Please take that with you today as we go forward. I want to thank everybody so much for coming today. I feel this. I feel you guys supporting me. Thank you for listening to me.